is nobody ever explained to me in high school or school in general why writing essays is important, why learning how to formulate an argument is important. The reason it's important is because that's how you convince people. That's how you change the world. That's if you can convince people, people will give you money. You can negotiate for a promotion, for a pay rise, for a startup. You can sell all these things. You learn that to do that by writing arguments in an essay. No teacher ever told me that. Welcome to We Need to Talk, where we try to figure out how to find fulfillment in life and how to reduce dissatisfaction. In this episode, I sit down with my high school teacher to discuss how to find what you're passionate about in life. I confront him with something that quite pissed me off actually throughout my education, which was that there was rarely an explanation or sort of the logic explained behind why the content we were being taught was useful or how it could change our lives. For example, my teachers rarely, or I think mostly, hardly ever explained why writing an essay is important and how learning to argue is how you change the world because you convince people by arguing. And finally, we finish by having a discussion on what the ultimate goal of education should be. Enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's go. How do you know what you're passionate about?
Well, you don't know, but you see when you're enjoying something, you feel that you're enjoying something, right? So you don't know what you're passionate about before doing it, but like you can try 2 3 different things in your life until you find a job that you really think, okay, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to keep doing for as long as I can.
The thing though is, I think the structure of a lot of jobs nowadays make it difficult to like the job. Let's say.
Love my job.
Pardon?
I love my job.
You do.
Yeah, I would not be doing it. I don't do it for the money. I mean, if you're a teacher, either you do it for the wrong reason or you enjoy teaching. Because if you don't enjoy teaching, like parents send the kids to school so that they can get rid of them, and then you get 30 together or 25 together in one classroom. Teenagers, yeah, awesome, right? So if you don't like it, what the hell are you doing there?
Okay, let me ask you this. So, why do you like teaching?
Why? Well, I've tried other things that I did not like as much as teaching. So that goes back to your previous question. How do you know that you're enjoying something or that you're, what was the thing you said?
If you're passionate about
Yeah,
something.
correct, that, the passion. So
Hmm.
how do you know that what your passion is? Like you don't know, but you do things that direct you towards that. Um, what was your question? Why do
Like,
I like
yeah,
teaching?
yeah. Why do you like teaching?
Eh, I like it. I don't know. Why do you like strawberries?
Well, I don't.
Okay, fine. Why do you like whatever the things you think you like? Why? Is there a reason? There's
Yes.
probably a chemical reason in the
Hmm.
brain that segregates whatever thing somewhere, and then you feel
Hmm.
good about it. But I know that I like it because I've done other things. I started tutoring when I was 14 or 15 years old. I knew that I was always. I mean, I always knew that I was going to be being a teacher. That was my plan. My plan was not starting right after finishing uni or as soon as possible. My plan was to try a bit private sector before, but the situation just didn't work because I started working uh, 2008, 2009 when the unemployment rate in Spain was slightly high. So you had to do whatever you had, and I worked at an office. Didn't like it. I worked selling cameras in a shop. I did not dislike it, but it was not my passion. It's like doing it for a couple of years, good, but I'm not going to be doing that forever. And I was mainly tutoring. And one day I was tutoring the smaller of two brothers, two sisters. And when I left, I saw that there was another guy tutoring the older brother. And I saw the guy. He was, for me back in the days, he was super old, maybe he was 40 or 45, I don't know. But then I looked at him and I thought, I don't want to be doing that when I'm that age. It's like I do this now because I need the money and I don't have stable work. I don't have a job that I can at least plan a couple of years in advance. And I saw the guy and I thought, I don't want to be that guy. And he was doing exactly the same thing I was doing, maybe another subject, but he was just going home to the place and tutoring the kid. And I realized that I did not want to do that. So even within teaching, I learned that something that was probably my main income. Don't tell the Spanish tax, okay, people, because it was always I paid all the taxes I had to pay. So it was not because of that. It was just because I saw that I did not want to have that kind of instability. And then trying one thing, trying the other thing, I end up doing something that I like.
And wait, so what's the key reason why, when you saw this older guy, that you said, I don't want to be where he is at that point in my life?
Because I did not want to need to go to a house of a little kid to tutor for making $20 in 1 hour. Now, yes, because I'm 20 and $20, you can do a lot with that. But when you're 40, your situation has probably, hopefully, changed. Your preferences are different. Your economical situation should not be the same, even if in most cases it's still the same. And 20 euros, when you're 45, you should appreciate more having 1 hour of life than 20 euros in your pocket. But of course, if you don't have money in your pocket, you still need to do that. So it was just a whole big thing. And right after that, I started looking for jobs out of Spain, because that was in Spain. And that was the day I decided, okay, I'm not staying in this country. Because staying in that country, staying in Spain would have meant that to me. It's like I could have probably started working in public school again, and start replacements, and then just getting a beamted position in Spain, civil servant.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's like, you know.
Mm.
And then I discovered the TES, Times Educational Supplement, where they post thousands and thousands of job offers for teachers. And I started researching in all the world, and I almost go to China, but I ended up in Frankfurt.
Wait, I need to write that down because maybe I can look into that. TES.
TES.
Okay.
There's a lot of job offers for teachers.
Okay.
But I got a job offer in China, but then the guys that were offering me the job said that there was no time for working visa. So I had to go there with a tourist visa and then give them the passport. And then I thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to China. Then I'm going to give my employee my passport. Yes, that's the plan that I have right now. So I did not go, of course.
Okay. That's the tactics. Interesting. I mean, you got another baby in the summer now, so you have 2 daughters now, right?
No, the second one is a boy.
Oh, one's a boy.
Yeah, girl and boy.
Awesome. That's a good mix. One thing I've thought about quite a lot is the difficulty that teenage girls have in sort of today's Western society. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I guess I know, but if you want to be more specific.
Just the pressure of trying to look good or on social media. Yeah. Like, how do you have a strategy for, have you thought about it when you raise your daughter when she's that age, or do you have any thoughts?
Well, I hope things are different in 10 years than what they are right now, because they are not as they were 10 years ago. I remember, I've never been a girl, but I think that I know what you're talking about. And I think that it's, when I was a teenager, it was not that bad. Then with all the social media and internet, it went very, very bad. And I think that it's just going back to a situation where there's more social conscience about the freedom of choice and the privacy, and that helps in that direction. However, uh, TV and everything that you see in a screen tells you that a girl is a sexual object and that they have to live with it. But I don't know how to. I don't have a strategy to be
Mm.
honest. I don't even have a strategy about how to teach her. I don't know how to share her toys with the little one when he comes. So I think that it's more a survival strategy what we have right now here.
Yeah.
Like you see the problems that you face, and as an educator, you know how to approach them. But then you see that the people that is around you that are not in the educational environment, they know nothing. But you cannot tell them, of course, because then you would lose all your friends. But basically, you know when someone does something wrong, that you need to correct that, and you need to give options. For example, as I said before, by the way, I always hated that my father always talked to me as if I was his student, because my father was a math teacher as well. So my priority number one is not doing that with my kids, not talking to them, not make them feel like I treat them the same way I treat my students. That's something that I always keep in mind. But when you see a behavior that is not correct, and you see that parents just don't correct the behavior, then you know that the kid does not even understand that he's doing or she's doing something that is wrong. It's like I'm hitting you in the head, and then, oh, go to the corner. It's like, okay, why? Then I go back and I hit it again in the head. It's like there's no communication. So things that I try to do are always talking to her, like eye to eye, going on my knees, just same height from the floor, so that they don't have to be looking like that. And felt they I think that they can feel inferior when it's the way we've all been raised. But basically, you try I try to have the same height so that there's no looking up or looking down, because that already implies a position of power from my perspective in these contexts. Okay, I'm not saying anything about tall people or not so tall people, but that's one of the things that I try. And I just, when I see a situation that I don't know how to confront, I don't know, like when Aitana was very very tiny, she just started scratching everyone. Like, how do you tell her not to do that? She was just playing, and then he was just hurting me, like, or in the face or whatever. What do? Blast! No, right? Because no, that's not a solution. But then, how do you deal with it? Well, you read. You start reading until you think that you've read five experts, and then you're your own expert, and you do whatever you think you have to do. But it's the same thing for childs, for teenagers, for everything.
You pull out a PowerPoint presentation on why not to
Don't do
scratch.
that.
Wait, so okay. One thing I want to dive into and then continue with this is, why did you not like that your father sort of spoke to you the same way as if you were a student? Like, what would you have hoped for?
I don't know. I don't know, but not what I was getting. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I told my dad, don't talk to me like if I was one of your students.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but he never. I don't know. I bet he. The problem that teachers have is that you don't uh, you don't change when you're teaching. You're the same person that you're outside. So it was probably my mistake understanding that my father was treating me as a student. He was just treating me as he treats everyone, and that was it. So, but I felt that it was treating his son as he used to treat his students. So maybe he did not know, maybe he did not explain that to me, but my intention is to at least communicate, like explain why I do what I do when it's possible. Of course, with teenagers, sometimes nothing is possible,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not there yet. So we'll learn on the way.
That's one thing I've noticed, which is, I think, a big mistake of not just parents, but any kind of guide in life or advisor is, or teacher, is the missing logical explanations for why certain things are, why the teacher is telling you like, do like this is good or this is bad. Like, where's the logic behind it? And there is a lot, like there's a reason why they're trying to advise you to do something, but they don't explain the logic. That's a big mistake. For like one example, which I think is really dangerous, or it's actually really pissed me off, is nobody ever explained to me in high school or school in general why writing essays is important, why learning how to formulate an argument is important. The reason it's important is because that's how you convince people. That's how you change the world. That's if you can convince people, people will give you money. You can negotiate for a promotion, for a pay rise, for a startup. You can sell all these things. You learn that to do that by writing arguments in an essay. No teacher ever told me that. But now, if I look back, if I learn like, oh, if only I could have learned how to, I don't know, formulate an argument and be convincing, then like I could have be way further in life. Like for example, now I make YouTube videos on my other YouTube channel every single day where I try to explain like a concept of on like life or like religion or something like that. Try to like argue it, and that's how I'm like trying to get better and better and better at it. But nobody ever told me why that's useful, and that's a big mistake, I think.
Did you ever ask?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, but okay, I should have
No, maybe
asked.
not, because it was not your concern back on the days.
Mhm.
You were not worried about that. Maybe you asked because in math it's very common to say, "Why do I need that? When do we need that in life? I'm not going to use that in the supermarket or stuff like that." And I could quote like 25 or 250 students right now, but maybe including you. Wait a second. But the fact is that uh, sometimes there's a disconnection between the educational world and the real world. And sometimes the professionals, the teachers, don't even know what the relation is. And sometimes they are just doing that because they have to do it, even if they know that there's no point in teaching whatever topic in whatever course when that is completely useless. But they have to do it because the educational system is built vertical, not horizontal. It's like you're told what you have to do because some professionals or some experts wrote a syllabus somewhere, and then it goes down, and then the teacher, and then the student. But there's never communication about how should we do things. And maybe that's a problem. Maybe the problem is that teachers have not been trained to actually explain why things are like that. I don't know who was teaching you English. I can imagine, I can think of a couple of names right now. And I know these guys as colleagues or friends, not as my teacher. Therefore, the relation is not the same. But maybe you did not ask, or maybe you were the pain, and they were asking you to stand next to the door and just look at the wall.
Mm. The English teachers were actually female, so I think it narrows it down. You might know who that was.
I think I can figure out. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also, I mean, especially in history lesson, I had to write a lot of essays and, okay, not necessarily argument essays, but and the thing is, like, these teachers were good. Like, I mean, I liked them. I mean, some of them I didn't, but some of them I did. And even those that I did like a lot, they didn't explain it. Maybe I should have asked, but it just didn't come to my mind. Only now I heard somebody talk about why it's important to learn.
And now you have the answer.
Mm. But it could have, if you tell kids, like, you, if you practice writing essays, that's how you change the world in the end. You learn how to convince people.
Do you can you say 100% sure that that was never said to you? Never ever.
I
No
think.
one never ever told you something like that. Not with those exact words, but
Mhm.
at least try to share that idea.
I think my history teacher I think you know who that might also be. He might have said it, not how I've said it now. I don't remember it, but my English teachers. Okay, it's a good point you say it. I can't I can't say with certainty, that's for sure, because I can't remember everything. But it just didn't.
It didn't ring. Yeah, maybe they said it, but you were not listening. Maybe you were checking your phone or something like that. But it's difficult. It's very difficult to be sure about whether you were told something like that or not. But even if you are told, your maturity right now is not the same that 10 years ago. So, for example, yesterday I was went to a dancing class with my daughter because she wanted to do dancing. Okay, she was the one who said, "I want to start dancing. I want to start dancing." So I went with her because it was the only Monday that I could do it because I'm on holidays. And then she decided to take her shoes off when we were on the way back home. And I just stopped the car. I went to the back. I told her, "It's cold. The car is cold. If you take your shoes on, your socks off, then you can get a cold and you're gonna feel not gonna feel good. You're gonna get a bit sick." And she understood everything I was saying. She did whatever she wanted. And you cannot imagine last night because yeah, she had a cold and now she's a bit sick, just a bit of running nose. But for a 3-year-old, it's a pain having a running nose. And then I told her, "Do you remember that yesterday? What I said yesterday?" And she remembers everything, but her logic does not have that point where she can actually connect the dots. And I'm not comparing the teenager Henry with my 3-year-old daughter, but maybe the logic that you had when you were taught some things is not the same that you have now. And even if you were taught, you did not listen, you did not care, you did not pay attention. I remember in my own experience that when I was in high school, I always hated language. L1, it was Spanish, of course, but I always hated it because I thought it was completely useless until one teacher taught me how to express myself with words and all the logical thinking that I was doing in my brain because that's either it's there or it's not there, but how to put that in words, how to write something so that people can follow in your mother tongue. My mother tongue is not English for your viewers, but I remember that guy helping me to get to that point. How do you do that? It's like, how do you teach someone how to write? You don't. It's like you just ask them to write more and more and more and correct and tell you should not do that here, you should not do that there. And the only thing the student can do at that point is to write essays, which is what you hated.
I guess you have a point. um, I can understand that in order for, let's say a teacher would say, by practicing essays, you learn how to convince people and change the world. 16-year-olds have different things on their mind at that point, other like that don't have to do with how to change the world. It's more like, how do I be cool in high school? How do I get into a cool group? How do I have fun? Uh, you know, get laid or whatever,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. It's not
Okay.
like, how do I change the world and save humanity from declining? It's
Mhm.
in a different sort of level of maturity in some sense. So I can understand that. Okay. uh, it's good you explained it. What do you think if you can boil down the goal of education, or like the ideal goal, what should it be? What should education achieve or aim for?
The goal of education. That's a difficult question.
Let me tell you what I think it should be, and then I want to hear what you think. Maybe that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the goal of education should be to teach individuals the tools needed to successfully maneuver through life. And with successfully, I mean reduce as much suffering or like unnecessary suffering as possible and find some kind of meaning in life. That's
Mm.
what education should teach or help students act out or learn how to act out.
But if that's the goal of educators as teachers, then what do the parents do? Because most of what you said is the responsibility of the parents, not the teachers. The teachers can have to deliver knowledge because they have it, and they need to transmit that to the students. Teachers need to teach how to be independent thinkers, how to be able to produce your own argument for whatever you want. But the other part of what you're saying is more educational, but like home education. It's like what you do with life is something that a teacher is not going to tell you. Maybe a YouTuber helps you more than a teacher because you like it, or I don't know. But it's like, what is it? What is the part of the education that has to happen at home, and what is the part of the education that has to happen in high school? Because in high school, at the end of the day, we're talking about one professional in theory. Okay, so best case scenario, a professional teacher that is motivated and that likes what he's or she's doing. That's a best best case scenario. That person still has what, 3 hours per week with you, with 25 more. So the influence on the individual that a teacher can have is tiny. It's very small. It's like when you really get education, it's not from your teachers. Maybe in high school, maybe from your friends, maybe from your class, maybe seeing what others are doing. But most of the time, where are you? You're at home, right? When you're that age, you start not being at home at all. But in theory, your biggest input should come from your parents, your grandparents, brothers, sisters, siblings, friends. So all your social environment is what makes you how you are, how you become. But that is one thing, and the education, the high school education, is a different thing. Is how to help someone to be an independent thinker. That's what I think that we have to achieve. It's like we have to achieve that a student is able to listen, to pay attention, to understand, and then to have an own opinion about everything. And I'm talking about math, philosophy, or sports. Okay. So, of course, the approach is not the same. But for me, the goal of education is not the part that should be done at home, but the part that only builds the logical process in the mind.
But you can't, I understand what you mean, but I think it's a bit short-sighted to separate how a human
Not
processes information from like their ability to socialize or to, let's say, find something meaningful in life.
No, you don't. You don't, but most of the input in that part of life does not come from someone that you see. Hopefully, for everyone, that information does not come from someone that you see 3 hours, 4 times 45 minutes a week in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That cannot be. Do you
Yeah,
agree
but
with me, right?
I mean, you can do a lot in 45 minutes, though.
You can do a lot. You can try to do a lot. You can try to generate an environment where you can talk about anything. Even if you're in math class and you see that there's a problem, or you need to spend 1 hour talking about, I don't know, sex education or politics or racism or rape or whatever, but you first need to have the flexibility to work in a place where you can do that,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the places, most of the educational systems don't have room for that. I personally do it when I have to do it. I don't care if I'm in trouble, then I'll fix it later. But if I see something that has to be addressed when I'm teaching, then I just forget about what I was supposed to be doing and I focus on that. But you cannot do that on a regular basis. That's the the irregularity in the educational system. And in fact, that irregularity is the thing that gives you more input as human being than any other lesson. But that is not included in a teaching system. That is not included in a educational system. That is just the human to human contact. And if you're good at it, or you like it, or you have, because you can be the best teacher, but if there's no connection with a student, then nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be input output. There's not going to be a nice relationship, and the student will not remember you in 2 years' time. But what you can try is to generate a situation where trust and confidence and you feel comfortable and you can say whatever you want. But that is a tiny part of education.
When I can imagine, and I think I experienced what you just described, but I don't think that's good. It's basically, if you think there's no room in the educational system for that humane sort of building trust, or humane, like, it's like we were talking about the content. A lot of the content that is taught is very sort of niche and sort of specific, and does not necessarily have such a high utility in let's say everyday life later on. It won't bring that much value. It'll bring some, but not that much. But what really gets you forward, and what you were indicating, is this teaching independent thinking, teaching let's say good decision making, I would say, and prioritizing, and learning how to socialize, learning how to behave in ways that people like you. And I know that sounds a bit superficial, but it's like, if there are ways in life to behave that just get you further, and people will start rooting for you, people will give you opportunities, and it makes the whole difference. It's like networking in some sense. If you know how to do that, like, life will just unfold in front of you. But if you don't know how to do it, life can be a real uphill task. But you do not really get taught how to socialize, understanding the psychology of socializing, and how to get people to like you. Or how to not get people to like you, but to just develop your character in a way that is authentically you, but others that is a good kind of character.
How many subjects have that included in the syllabus?
Not a lot, or close to none.
Not a lot, none. Maybe ethics, or maybe a bit philosophy thinking. But in general, that is not the goal of high school, not the goal of education, but the goal of high school is not that. Why do you learn? How do you learn that from? Why do you get that feeling from other people? Because you take a bit of here, a bit of there, a bit of there, a bit of there, and that's what makes you human, and that's what makes your personality, right? And maybe what you need in high school is to have different inputs. The super strict English teacher, and the cool math teacher, and of course, and whatever. And then you just know that there is different input from different people, and you decide what you want to learn from each one of them. And to be honest, I hope that my students, after 1 year is probably not enough, but if you're in touch for like process 2, 3, 4 years, I hope that they don't learn math from me, that they know me and they know how I am, because the way I'm talking to you is the way I speak in the class. I mean, you know it, right? But it's I hope they learn a bit of that, but that thing is not measurable. It's just my personality. So I think that I have good things in my personality. I'm sure I have very bad things as well. I try to do everything that is correct when I'm teaching, but I hope that part of my teaching includes sharing how I am as human being, and that is what can make the difference. But the goal of the educational system is to educate, but knowledge, not to educate manners, not to educate to be polite, not many other things that you need to learn from human beings, not from teachers. And I think that good teachers combine at the same time the teaching part with the sharing human nature with students.
That's true. I think the exposure to these different kinds of authority figures is super important, because you learn how to deal with these different kind of temperaments, and which you'll need later on in life. You know, if you have a boss who's a difficult versus a boss who's super nice, you know, it's that's sure, like I could, that's definitely useful. But when you say that the goal of education is to transfer knowledge, I think that can be optimized so much.
I agree. I completely agree with you. But if you have to get to uni, and for getting to uni you need to pass the exams, then your focus when you're 15 is, as you said before, just, is that going to be in the test or not? Right? And if it's not going to be in the test, I don't care. So we teachers have to deal with that, and that's not an easy thing to do, because you need to motivate, and at the same time you need to deliver knowledge, and you need to try to educate a bit, and your only input is it going to be in the test, yes or no?
Okay, yeah.
No, but I need to optimize my learning, because if I know that it's going to be on the test, then I'll blah, 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 as you said before. You can just put it here in a little corner right now if you want. I can quote you. But you don't care when you're that age. So it's not an easy thing.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm a bit sort of idealistic sometimes. So, but it's good to, it's
no,
good.
That's good. That's good. I taught you that.
No. No, but it's good if you fire it back and like you sort of challenge my opinions. I just have like one more question, because I don't want to hold you up for much longer. What have you learned? What's the key wisdom you've learned from becoming a parent?